Today's show is sponsored by Indie Film Hustle's Filmmaker process. We provide filmmakers with professional services to get their films or series funded, finished, and distributed. For more information, go to filmmakerprocess.com. Right afterwards, I think it was the next year or so, were you guys already working on Robin Hood during Dances, or as after Dances, that's when Robin Hood showed up?
Yeah. I was, this was after The Beast, and I'd been on and off a couple of different things that, didn't happen. And I was actually on another picture at Universal. We were in prep, and they'd asked me to come. They'd asked me to leave another project to come do that, and I was reluctant because they said, "Look, this is a $40 million picture," which at the time was a lot of money.
Huge.
And they went, "No, it's not 40 million." I said, "Look, it's a $40 million movie." And they said, "Look, don't worry about it. We're making this movie. Come do it." Anyway, so I did. I bailed, and I started doing prep on the other show. We set up production office and everything. And after about 2 months, finally the budget came in, $39 million. And they go, "We're not doing that." And I'm like, "I told you it was going to be $40 million. And yeah, well, you got to bring it down to 30 because we're not doing it." I was furious because I'd wasted all this time. Literally the next day, I get this phone call. And they said, "Hey, you want to do Robin Hood?" Little did I know there were a couple of competing projects out there.
Yes.
One was John McTiernan. So I said, "Sure, if you're making it, yes," because I was so angry. So I did. I bailed and went the next day and said, "I'm out of here." And so I went on to this other Robin Hood. And the next day after I got onto that, I get this call from Kevin, and he goes, "Can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure." He says, "Come on over." So he comes over to my new office, and he walks in and he goes, "Did you know I was on this other Robin Hood with McTiernan?" And I, "No." I said, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah." He said, we were talking about doing this other thing. And I said, "I had no idea." And he was like, "Oh, God, okay, well, whatever." Long story short, the producer, who was very wily, realized Costner was doing this. So he asked me to do the Robin Hood. And so Kevin bailed on the other one and came on to that Robin Hood. And that's how it came to be.
Yeah, there was a couple. I remember it always happens. Like there's the asteroid movies where there's competing asteroid movies, and the Robin Hoods and the volcano movies.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that's happened a couple of times to me. And in fact, just recently, I don't know why I had this idea. I thought, God, an interesting subject for a film would be Audie Murphy. And so I read a couple of books on him and stuff. And I was like, God, this would be an interesting story. Literally, the next day I read this thing in the trays that somebody was doing an Audie Murphy series based on. I'm like, how did that happen?
So I had Penn Desham on the show as well, who is the writer of Robin Hood for everybody in the audience. Right. And Penn is just one of the sweetest human beings I've ever met. I absolutely adore Penn. And I told him the same story I'm going to tell you. I was working on the weekends in movie theaters. So I was working weekdays at a video store, working weekends at a movie theater. I was definitely glutton for punishment. And that year, 91, comes out Robin Hood. Me and my friend went to go see it, sat in the front row because it was packed. You couldn't get anything else. Looking up at it, got out, walked right back in and watched it again. We were so enthralled with that movie, and it was so much fun, and it was just like such a fun movie. And I have to ask you, like, you're taking on a character like Robin Hood, which is a beloved character, obviously the Errol Flynn thing from years ago, and he's just such a well-known character. And I know from what I understood, I've done research on that movie years ago, Kevin did not want to wear tights. He's like, "I'm not wearing tights in this movie, so you can forget that." How do you approach a character, such an iconic character? And did you feel any just pressure by tackling that kind of character?
Yeah, all in. Yes. I just plunged into that one because I wanted to make a picture. Like I said, I'd been on and off a couple of things, and finally I was just like, okay, is this going? Is this for real? I'm in. And I read the script and I liked the idea of it. I wanted to do some things with it. And, one of the problems was, how do we make this not, look ridiculous? Like,
right.
And I'll tell you a couple of other things, but first off, when we're 2 weeks from shooting and the wardrobe guy is working on it, and he wouldn't show me anything. I'm finally, look, I gotta see what you're thinking about. And so he's like, okay, come tomorrow afternoon. I'll have it laid out. So I go into the warehouse where he's working, and he lays all this stuff on the table, and it's literally like, green tights and the little scallop thing like this, little green hat. With
Oh my God. So it's Errol Flynn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I look at him and I'm like, this is a joke, right? Where's the real stuff? And I could tell from the look on his face, no, this was it. This was the wardrobe.
Oh my God.
And I was horrified. So I fired him.
As you should, sir.
And I hired John Bloomfield. And John, literally, he came in with less than 2 weeks and created an amazing wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
John was a genius. I mean, he saved us. He came in, he did something that was classy, that really worked. And hats off to John, because we were in dire straits. He did that. On the movie itself, I don't know what it was about it, but as I was reading it, something it wasn't enough. And as I started to explore the characters and I was trying to find something that would get me excited, I realized I didn't want to take things too seriously in places. And consequently, the sheriff evolved the way that he did. And it was great because when I met Alan Rickman, we were both on the same page that he didn't want to play him as some mustache twirling villain. He wanted to do something different too. And we just completely clicked in that regard. And I think that, that was a lot of what made the picture work was Alan, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah,
he was fresh off of that other independent film called Die Hard, where he played another amazing villain. So he started that, he went right from, I don't know if he did anything in between, but then Die Hard and then Sheriff of Nottingham. It's just like, he steals. I don't want to say steals every scene, but he just eats up every scene he's in.
He did, and it was fun. It was fun because I'd say, well, what if you do this? And he goes, okay, but then what if I do this? And it just kept building on itself, and it was fortuitous.
Without question. And then you have Morgan Freeman, who's not a slouch. It was good times. Now that film comes out and explodes. I mean, it was a huge hit that summer, if I remember correctly. It's a massive hit. To watch the rest of this interview, head over to indiefilmhustle.com.